But Nikhil, I haven't come to you. So your initial thoughts, and I'll come back to you on the other side of the break.
We need to move more in the 30s.
Truly.
And the other is investment rates, right? And I think that is, cost of capital is very high in our country, especially for MSMEs and startups. I think cost of compliance is extremely high. I don't think we talk a lot about how long it takes to, do dispute resolutions and 35 million cases out in the court, and just the cost of starting a company. We've increased the index of, the ease of doing index is now in the 60s, but we are in the hundreds in starting a company and closing a company.
Yeah.
So, focusing on cost of compliance and getting that, especially for the MSMEs.
Okay, so we know what Nikhil's going to be looking at when Nirmala Sitharaman is up there. Before you go, Nikhil, I would like to ask you here, as you look at the big picture, you run a young company, right? And the reason I'm coming to you now, GoDaddy is a young company. What are young entrepreneurs looking out for? The people who come and do business with you are people who are setting up companies. And that's why I want you to say a little word about the spirit of young Indians dying to do business in challenging times. Nikhil.
First of all, I think, we do an annual survey about the spirit and gauging how the entrepreneurs in India are looking at the future. And India actually, almost half of the entrepreneurs are twice as bullish as the global entrepreneurs to succeed in India, right? So there's a huge positive momentum among the startup community. I think what they're looking for is things around, innovation funds. Because still cost of capital is very hard for startups. I think angel tax was partially corrected. I think there's still room to go on that one more. I think attracting talent for startups and small business is the hardest thing. And to the extent there are programs and funding which can go into incentivizing and actually giving more subsidies to startups to get talent. And lastly, I want to mention is the education. I think we have missed a bit of trick on both higher education and digital education. And I think if we can, in this budget, addresses that to some extent, that will go a long way. Because when you look at the middle class, right, 25% of the expenditure goes on education, and just moving a few needles on the education budget would go a long way.
And we can absolutely do that, and we can achieve that. So thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. I say goodbye to Jim Rogers.